Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Anna Speer, Auctions Plus CEO. I'm here today with John Condon from Beef Central. John, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be with you, Anna, and thanks for the invitation.
So today I thought we'd have a bit of a chat about change, and as a bit of a old hat at Rocky Expos, I believe that you've been coming here since 1988.
Yes, that's true. I have actually had the good luck of attending every single Beef Expo since the first year in 1988, and obviously over that period, incredible change in this event, and the industry more broadly.
So tell me about that change, John. What's different?
Oh, look, I think it's fair to say that this first event in 1988 was really a little more than a large stud cattle show. There was a little bit of seminar activity and other involvement, but really it was a stud show. I mean, today it is the broadest possible spectrum of the fabric of the Australian beef industry, and I think it has obviously gone from being a regional event to a national event, and now a truly international event.
And John, can you tell me a little bit about the themes that we're seeing and how they've changed in the past 3 years for the Rocky Expo, but also for the industry as a whole?
I think one of the interesting things with an event which is held only every 3 years is it does give you a passage of time which provides some interesting context for changes within the industry. So I was thinking back to 3 years ago. When I think back to 2015, cattle in Australia, bullocks were worth maybe 300 cents per kilogram. No one had heard of fake meat in this country in 2015. Donald Trump was still a celebrity television show host.
And has been changed?
Yeah, well, now look at it today. I think the defining features, I think, of this event this year, clearly ag technology, number one. I see evidence of ag technology virtually everywhere across the trade shows, the seminars. It's obviously a key driver of where the industry sees its future in terms of profitability, sustainability, efficiency. I think the other key factor, defining feature this year is sustainability. 3 years ago, I think the emphasis was a lot more on building and fostering supply chains. There was perhaps a strong animal welfare focus 3 years ago. So it is interesting to see how those industry focuses change over a 3-year cycle.
And global influence on meat trade, where's it going? What are your thoughts?
Well, again, I think the last 3 years we have seen some of the most dramatic changes in terms of trade flows around the world. A lot of that is being driven by importing countries which have now lowered substantially their barriers to entry based around BSE and FMD, the key disease issues. So, for example, a country like China, which 3 years ago was still very much an emerging market, today it's more of an established market. 3 years ago, Australia was the only exporter in the world with front door access to China. Now that list includes almost a dozen countries. So in a competitive sense, Australia is facing a much more vigorous challenge around the world. We recently published an article where we suggest that 2018 will be the year of largest beef traded internationally around the world, and that's based on dramatic increases in exports out of Brazil, the United States, even countries like Argentina and Uruguay, India. All these countries are growing substantially in exports apart from Australia.
Apart from Australia? So tell me a bit more about that. I mean, do you think as an industry we should be moving towards a premium beef branded product, or should we be playing in the commodity space?
Oh, look, I think there's compelling evidence that Australia's future has to lie in better description, identification, branding. Premiumisation is the word that's sometimes used. Without it, we run the risk of getting down in the trenches with very price competitive exporters such as Brazil and others in South America. So unless we embrace this whole movement towards supply chains, building vigorous and in-demand brand programs where our customers are prepared to pay more for the product, we will be going backwards. So that is absolutely a key objective for Australia in the next 3 years.
And clean meat. Should we be concerned? We've just seen Tyson Foods invest in an Israeli startup that claims to have reduced the cost from $800 a kilo down to $80 a kilo, and they're predicting that by 2025 they're going to have lab-grown meat that's $10 a kilo. Should we be concerned?
Look, it's quite extraordinary how this term, clean meat, lab-grown meat, another term I've heard used for it recently is cellular agriculture, which it's a strange term, but I mean it obviously shows that they're looking for descriptors which they think better project the nature of their product. I think there is some risk in terms of the impact it has on conventional beef production. But I also think there's an awful lot of attributes with conventional beef which molecular agriculture is never going to be able to reproduce. I should say the investment that currently is happening worldwide in this industry is not only focused on beef. There's a project in the United States looking at cellular grown salmon, for example. So I think all animal proteins are likely to be exposed to this. There's been $50 million put toward incubators and projects in the United States in the last 6 weeks. So it's not going to go away, but I think the industry needs to focus on how we best address the issues attached and sell our positive traits. And I think there's plenty of good stories to tell about conventional beef.
And John, now I'd like you to get your crystal ball out for us and tell us about the cattle market and what it's going to do in 2018.
Boy, if I had the ability to predict the cattle market, I think I'd be a very wealthy man, certainly a lot wealthier than I am now. Look, I think we're entering a fascinating stage in the cattle supply-demand cycle, and we're obviously still coming off the bottom of a very deep rut in terms of the 20-year decline in cattle herd. But that recovery is underway. I think there are still some handbrakes out there. Very high, almost record high feed grain prices are making lot feeding of cattle very difficult at the moment to make that profitable. So there's some challenges ahead. In terms of cattle price, I think we've found a very nice equilibrium at the moment, which doesn't happen all that often in the history of the cattle industry. And that is that almost every sector, possibly with the exception of block feeding, is taking a share of the pie at the moment. There's a margin there for processors, there's a margin there for producers. And I think if we can maintain that equilibrium, I think it's to everybody's benefit that everybody in the chain makes some profit out of the margin consistently, because peaks and troughs and losses and massive profits I don't think are good for the broader industry.
I couldn't agree with you more, John. I think looking at how we take that volatility out and work together is a huge opportunity for our industry. The other thing I'd like to ask you about, I heard just recently that Beef Central has invested in 60,000 head of cattle. Can you confirm this rumour?
Look, I absolutely can. We do have a herd of 60,000 cattle. We brought them with us from Brisbane to Rockhampton yesterday in the back of a Hertz Pantech truck. The only thing is this herd of cattle is plastic. They're about 40 millimetres long, and they form a key part of our brand new beef industry board game, which we have launched at Beef 2018 in Rockhampton today, called Cattle Baron.
Fantastic. Tell me more about it. I'm envisaging squatter, my childhood, playing the board game around the house with the family. Tell me a bit about Cattle Baron.
Well, certainly games like Cattle Baron and Monopoly, for me, to almost everybody, and it has some similarities with squatter in the sense that they're both livestock industries, so there's some inevitable similarities there. But Cattle Baron is really, it's designed to not only be fun for 4 players, because each player has a cattle property, a famous Australian cattle property to play from, but it's also designed to be educational. We think it's important to embed some strong messages in there about animal welfare. sustainability, grazing land management, the issues that the industry faces on a daily basis. And it's our hope that the game is picked up a lot more broadly than just people engaged directly in our industry, but also the people in the cities and people who aren't connected with the agricultural or livestock industries, and also play the game, enjoy it, and learn a little bit about the industry.
And where are you getting your pricing indicators from?
Well, Auctions Plus does get a reference on the game, I must say.
Lucky, good to hear.
Because in a very similar vein to the real cattle industry, our board game features massive swings in cattle price through the yearly cycle, and it's one of the many challenges that players face when they play the game.
Fantastic, and people can wander down to whereabouts are you guys located at Beef to get their hands on this board game?
We've got a little trade show in the Wild Pears Pavilion, straight beside the two seminar rooms, and it's on sale there all this week, and will also be on sale permanently through Beef Central via an online purchasing facility.
Fantastic. John, we're about to wrap up. What would you tell someone who's here for their first time for Beef? What is a must not miss?
Look, there are so many highlights. My suggestion is just circulate, enjoy it, absorb the atmosphere and the messages, the signals that you'll pick up here. I think my early highlight is going to be these slow smoked barbecue outlets which are serving all this wonderful food around the ground. So I'm going to go and grab one of these pulled beef smoked burgers over here shortly to have a bit of a sample and to see what it's like. So that's my tip. Enjoy some of the great food around the ground today.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time out to share with us today, John. Really appreciate it, and thanks for watching. Cheers.